The Mayflower by Mark Greenwood. In 1620, the King of England expected his subjects to worship according to the laws of the Church. Some people, called Puritans, believed the Church of England was not true to their faith. They prayed in secret, afraid they would be punished if the king found out. Some Puritans decided to leave England and cross the Atlantic Ocean. Far away in the New World, they hoped that they could worship without fear. Other adventurers, known as strangers, joined the Puritans on the voyage. Today, we call those travelers pilgrims. The Pilgrims rowed out to the Speedwell and the Mayflower, the ships that would transport them across the vast ocean. But water leaked through the Speedwell's planking. Some of the passengers decided to abandon the voyage. Others crowded aboard the Mayflower. 102 passengers, including children, prayed for fair winds when the Mayflower sailed alone on September 6, 1620. The Pilgrims didn't know what to expect when they reached their destination. Before them, only explorers and fishermen had undertaken such a dangerous voyage. The Mayflower was built to carry goods such as wines, textiles, and irons, not people. Between the decks, families were separated for privacy by wooden dividers. They shared 2 damp, crowded spaces with chickens, goats, pigs, and dogs. Barrels of hard biscuits, beef, and fish preserved by salting, cases of cheese, sacks of beans, and gallons of vinegar were stowed in and held at the bottom of the ship. Before the journey, the master shipsman, Christopher Jones, had sailed the Mayflower only on short trading trips between England and Europe. Now he set to course thousands of miles in the ocean. Steady winds carried the Mayflower beyond sight of the land as weeks passed by. Below deck, children listened to stories by lantern light. After a month at sea, dark clouds gathered on the horizon. October was the start of the stormy season, and the winds began to bluster. The ships rose and fell. The slippery deck was not safe for passengers, but a young man grew restless and stepped out for fresh air. Waves pounded the Mayflower planking, and the ship lurched suddenly, and he tumbled into the sea. John Howland caught a rope trailing from the rig, and the Pilgrims declared it a miracle when the crew hauled him in safely. Billowing sails strained the masts. A main beam buckled and cracked. Water poured in, and Master Jones feared that the Mayflower might sink. Fortunately, the Pilgrims had brought a tool used to lift heavy objects. With the iron screw, the ship's carpenter was able to raise the beam into place. Finally, the skies cleared and the winds calmed. After 65 days at sea, many Pilgrims were sick. 2 people had died. But at daybreak, on November 9th, 1620, weary faces smiled at the sight of land on the horizon, and Elizabeth Hopkins cradled her newborn son that was actually named Oceanus, who was born at sea. Before the Pilgrims set foot ashore, they wrote down laws and governed themselves. Today, this document is known as the Mayflower Compact. Some Pilgrims stayed aboard the ship while others explored the wilderness. By mid-December, they had chosen a place to settle, and the Mayflower anchored in Plymouth Harbor. The Pilgrims began building houses, but the snow was thick, and many fell ill for the first winter. On March 16, 1621, a lone Indian approached the settlement. "Welcome, Englishmen," he said. He had learned to speak English from fishermen. Another local Indian came to live with the Pilgrims. He taught them how to plant corn and use fish to fertilize the fields. He introduced them to the powerful Wampanoag leader, Massasoit. Though they had suffered great hardship, the Pilgrims found the freedom that they had prayed for. On April 5th, 1621, Master Jones bid his crew farewell. The Mayflower set sail homeward bound for England. The fall Messiah and 90 of his warriors joined the Pilgrims for 3 days of feasting. Together with the Wampanoag, the Pilgrims gave thanks and celebrated their first harvest in the New World. The end.